Is it the sugar? No, my friend, it goes way deeper. So today I will give you a more rational, okay, not wishy-washy, because I see everybody thinking about food satisfaction as like flavors, aromas, okay? I don't like that. That is not something you can replicate. So I came up with this hypothesis in the past 2 years by analyzing junk food, okay? Basically the things we like, even energy drinks, and why do we like them? Over the years, I've came up with this hypothesis that encapsulates basically the reason we like all foods. So I hope this video finds you, and I hope you can get as much value out of it. We will go over 2 domains, the physical domain and the mental domain. At the end, I will also give you a formula that relates the two. So the physical domain. Here we find things that we essentially like, okay, like they are hardwired, and since they are hardwired, so like they are the same for everyone, junk food companies will heavily use them, okay? Now, these are 6 pillars, okay, in the physical domain, and once you will understand them, you will understand why you like junk food and how to make your food always taste good. We are basically reverse engineering junk food. Once you have understood these 6 pillars, you can basically use them in your everyday cooking, meal making, or even just to fix like maybe your parents did a bland meal. Now you can fix that. So the first pillar, acidity, proof of junk food exploitation. This component is often overlooked, but this is one of the most widely used elements in junk food. Red Bull, Coca-Cola, Gatorade, but also things like Pringles and potato chips, you know, they all use acidity correctors. A staple of Bulgarian cuisine is yogurt, and one of the reasons is that yogurt is acidic. Same goes for tomato sauce. Tomato is like an acidic ingredient, okay? It goes well with everything, pizza and, you know, pretty much everything. Imagine going to a restaurant, okay, and you order some fried seafood. What do they always put you on the side of the plate? A lemon. What does a lemon provide? Nothing but acidity. So next time you go to the supermarket, take a look at like any fruit juice. There will always be some acidity corrector. I think they are called E202. So they know we like acidic stuff, and now you know it too. So next time you are making some meal, make sure to add an acidic ingredient. If you have any idea of an acidic ingredient, that's great. If you don't, I will give you a list of what I use. So I use lemon, vinegar, fermented food, maybe like the, you know, sauerkrauts and shit. Also the fermenting liquid, like the pickle liquid, is acidic. And the same goes for yogurt. Yogurt is acidic. Second pillar, salt. Now you see this everywhere, not only in processed foods, but also in, you know, traditional recipes. And this makes sense, like we have always used the salt in fermentation, preservation. We love salt, so we place it everywhere. And you know, to many people's surprise, you don't really have to be, you know, so scared of salt. It is like extremely important for us, and it is way easier to have a deficiency than to have too much of it. Like, unless you have kidney diseases, you're fine. The funny thing is that we are told that we don't have to use much salt in the kitchen. Like, what the fuck? Now we only get salt from junk food. Like, it doesn't make sense. Now we're more dependent on junk food because that's the only place where salt is. Like, you will never use too much salt in the stir fry, then you go for the tortilla chips. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Don't underestimate the power of salt, okay? Because when I did, I hated my food. At the beginning of my journey, bro, I fucked up, okay? I was basically cooking vegetables following a tutorial online, okay? I searched on YouTube. This was one of my first research about cooking, and I searched how to cook vegetables or something similar. This video of this girl came up, and to be honest, it was not that great. I mean, not to hate on her, but it was a bit overcomplicated and was not that essential. Bro, I will make a video actually on this. And she basically, I don't know, she went over what pans to use, what like spices and thyme. This vegetable has some timing, and like cauliflower, carrots, and some other thing, broccoli. They have to cook longer, something in the middle that takes less time, and then there is things that cook very quickly. And sure, let's try this. She also mentioned like steaming, okay? I even got into steaming for that fucking video. That was not the worst part, okay? By the way, you don't need any of this. Do not get into steaming for your vegetables. It's like so overkill. When she went to the spices, she never mentioned salt, okay? She just gave us some spice blend or something. That, by the way, I've a bit useless in my opinion, and she only mentioned salt when she was like actually cooking the thing. She like briefly mentioned it. I also probably used salt, but I didn't use too much, because when I went and tasted it, bro, it was awful. First of all, it was not cooked enough, it was shit, but that was my fault. But it tasted awful, okay? I was not, why is this tasting bad? I added my favorite spices. I added curry, paprika, pepper. Why is this not tasting good? I was so confused. Next time I made vegetables again, I added more salt, bro. was absolutely delicious. From there on, I never had bad tasting vegetables in my life. So do not underestimate the power of salt. So the takeaway here is that you love salt, and when your food is missing something, okay, it's not the garlic, it's not the basil, and it's not even the oregano. It is most likely salt. Third pillar, fat. Proof of junk food exploitation. Well, I mean, you find this everywhere, and for a good reason. You know, store-bought popcorns, any snack actually, like tortilla chip, and like anything you can think of has fat in it. Dressing, sneakers, Bounties, M&Ms. Now be careful, because you may think now, okay, that fat is bad. No. The fat they use is bad. Absolutely, they use cancer-causing seed oils. Very inflammatory and estrogenic, meaning they will fuck up your hormones. Seed oils. That is messed up, cheap fat. What we will use in our kitchen is going to be OG olive oil and even butter, or yeah, you know, anything that basically your grandparents could have used. Very important, do not buy fats that are stored in plastic, okay? They will fuck up your hormones even more due to, you know, BPA, phthalates, and more estrogenic compounds. This means that when something is not tasting the best, you can add a little bit of fat. And you probably already do this, like think about it. I always do this, like we have always this basket with olive oil, salt, and I take the olive oil and I drizzle some in the meal we are having, and it always makes it better. So yeah, I highly suggest you do this. Fourth pillar, umami. Proof of junk food exploitation. Monosodium glutamate, natural flavorings, flavor enhancer, they all have one thing in common. They stimulate the umami receptor in your tongue. This is the savory sensation that comes from, you know, a bag of chips. Doritos. For example, we don't have Doritos here. We have this brand, for example, that is called San Carlo, and they have this tomato flavored chips, okay? Bro, when I was a kid, I loved this. When, like every time we went to to the swimming pool and there was a bar, there were always these chips. So I always asked my father, "Well, Dad, can you buy me this chip? It's so fucking good." And but they were so good. That stuff is umami. Bro, this taste is so strong. I have so many memories attached to it, even bad ones. Like there was a time that when I came back from school, basically the commute had me to go through basically a mall. Okay, we had this mall with those automatic stairs that you stand on it and you go down. And at the end of this mall, there was on the ground floor there was this supermarket basically. And since like stuff is cheap there, we will always go in with our friends and buy something, okay, maybe an energy drink or some chips, okay. I will always get these, very cheap. I was scanning the fucking prices. I was looking for the most like ROI height thing, like price per kilogram, okay. And these were the cheapest. So they were like 93 cents, I think, and there was a lot of them. Bro, there were so many, they were so good. I will basically buy them. I will also buy some, like an energy drink. It was from lemon soda and it was Tropical Trip. It was called Tropical Trip. We will go outside, share the chips and shit and eat them. So the thing is that from there, okay, I went into the train to go back home, and the commute was like 30 minutes, but I was not even able to finish the chips. That's the thing. That's the funny thing. It's not like they were not good. They were delicious. I was so hooked. I was so addicted to those things. Bro, I was so fucking sad. Bro, it's kind of embarrassing. Like I was in the train, so I would have greasy fingers, and I didn't know how to fucking clean it. So I would go like. Then I had wet fingers. I didn't know how to fucking dry them. So sometimes I went for the trousers. Sometimes I tried to search for a piece of paper in my trousers and try to. I was still dirty. So disgusting. Like no wonder I was fat. Jesus Christ. Like even the energy drink, bro, it was so good. Like those times were the peak happiness of the day. I felt happy there. Like now I don't feel that shit anymore. Like I'm grateful I quit that stuff for good, and yeah, I don't feel the cravings no more. I got into healthy eating and shit. Yeah, if I didn't do that, bro, I would still be there and licking my fingers off. That shit is sad. Now I feel great, like, and I have kind of a muscular body. I don't feel like shit. Every time I ate junk food I felt like shit. Now I don't anymore. I always have energy. I sleep well. I don't have that brain fog. Yeah, it's just amazing. I'm not even wasting the money to buy that, because it was actually like €3 daily if I did that daily. So yeah, now I'm richer and I'm happier. Fucking hell. Since like umami is a fairly new discovery, they will make you believe that the reason you like those things is because of the flavoring combo. As if like if you mix tomato with some other vegetable combination, you got a unique magic taste that is mysteriously better than the other combinations. Therefore, you like that cheap flavor because this combination, no, it is just umami, and we like this umami savory stuff. There may be some preferences over some flavors, but we will like address that in the mental domain. So if you still haven't understood what umami is, because like my brother and my friend always ask me this question, like, yes, but what is actually umami? Because I can picture salt, I can picture sweet, I can picture acidity, I cannot picture umami, so I'll try to explain this once again. Have you ever craved, maybe after eating something sweet, or maybe even after a protein shake, and like you crave something that you may call salty? Okay, no, that's umami. So this always happens to me when I eat like a sweet dessert, or even a heavy like fucking calorie protein shake. I always get the feeling of, you know, I want to eat something, I don't know, like some prosciutto, some cheese, okay? In fact, like an example of very umami foods are aged cheese and aged meat. Dried tomatoes, dried mushrooms are very known to have a lot of umami. Like even imagine opening your favorite bag of chips, okay? Do you know like the smell of air that comes outside of it? Like that's so, you know, good. Like I can already feel my mouth watering now. Like now I'm fucking imagine it. And I feel the mouth watering from that sensation. That's umami. Just by imagining it, I'm watering. That's how fucking much we love umami. So I left a link in the description that lists a bit of the umami ingredients. There is some science behind of it. If you go on the site, it will show you like 3 different columns, and that maybe can confuse you. But basically just know that if you mix vegetables and meat, you get more umami, okay? I can maybe make a video on that too. I will also give you a cheat code, okay, for umami, like something that you can add instantly to make the meal instantly more umami. Broth powder, dried mushrooms, okay? I have a powder I sometimes sprinkle on my food. Dried tomatoes, okay? I also add them often, okay? Soy sauce, but don't use this, to be honest, if you don't want to fuck your hormones up. And browning. And this refers to the Maillard reaction. If you are able to brown your food while cooking it, you will increase the umami perception. So we went over 3 pillars. Okay, now imagine you have an egg. Okay, quite bland. I think eggs are great, but they are quite bland. They don't taste that good. So let's apply the principle we have learned so far. Acidity, salt, fat and umami. Let's add them. It doesn't matter if you add them beforehand, after they're cooked, while you mix them, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure to add those elements in a way or another. So here is what I do. I cook the eggs in fat. I add the salt straight away. You can add it at the end. Again, it doesn't matter. And then I add a little like sprinkle of broth powder, okay? Like the stock powder. That is for the umami. Once everything is cooked, I put it on the plate and I maybe put some lemon on. This may sound crazy, but trust me, try that. Gonna be great. Sometimes I also put the rice vinegar in the egg mixture to increase the acidity, okay? 5th pillar, sweetness. Proof of junk food exploitation. This is probably the one you knew the most. This thing is exploited in like every fucking junk food. You can imagine yourself like the weirdest places they add sugar. Like sugar is the fucking devil to my eyes. It ruined my adolescence. It became basically a fundamental part of me when I was younger. It was so fucking bad. I was dependent on it. I had a drawer. Okay, let me show you. I had this drawer with all the sweets inside. Now I have like 90% chocolate for when I take the vitamin D, and some licorice fucking hell. I also have some old memory. This is the like sugar pills, okay? I fucking got them like who knows where, and yeah, I'm leaving them here for memory. And I will fucking binge on them every fucking day. And this was so consistent that even my mother, she told me like, Fede, I think you're getting a little bit, you know, out of shape. And I was like, nah, that's not true, don't say bullshit, yeah. But she was actually right. So after this, I am not obviously going to advise you to add sugar to your meals. So the key here to add sweetness in a safe way is vegetable, and also fruit, by the way, if you want. So we have bell peppers, tomatoes, onions, carrots. These are like the 4 ingredients that came up into my mind, but basically like every vegetable is kind of sweet. You can imagine yourself some vegetable that is sweet. 6th pillar, digestibility. Proof of junk food exploitation. McDonald's, chips, bagels, pasta, pizza dough. This is all about the processing of the ingredients, and this refers at how quickly the nutrients of a given meal are digested. Because when you digest something quickly, it also means that you spend less energy to digest the food. So the less you spend digesting it, the more you will like it. This is an interesting one, because you may think that digestibility is the same as sweetness, because, you know, after all, sugar is quickly digested, and we like sugar. Yeah, it's also a reason. But think about it, like bread, okay, is not sweet. it has a GI, which means glycemic index, of 90. So very highly digestible, but yet not sweet. And by the way, the GI is basically the speed at which you absorb the glucose from a given food. So GI in many cases is a good indication of digestibility. That said, keep in mind that digestibility doesn't only refer to the glucose. It is also referring to the digestion of proteins, fats, and even fibers. This means that if you cook a piece of meat, you will digest it quicker. There is, protein denaturation, the collagen breakdown, so it is like tender. The fat is even easier to digest. Or also when you cook a celery stick, when you cook it, okay, you will spend less time digesting it. Because basically cooking is like a pre-digestion, and that allows us to get more calories. Or better said, it allows us to spend less calories digesting a given food, okay? That's called the thermic effect. The thermic effect is like how much energy do we spend digesting that food. So yeah, if you boil a celery stick, you kind of pre-digest, meaning you break down the fibers a little bit. So yeah, you also get more vitamins because, the vitamins are stuck on the fibers. One here could make the argument that we like energy-dense food. I disagree. Think about a stick of butter. Bro, I don't like it. I've tried, I've ate it, I don't like it. If you put in front of me, okay, a piece of chocolate and a piece of butter, I will 100% pick the chocolate, even though the butter was more energy dense. And by the way, I'm not telling you to eat more chocolate, like stick to the butter. Not to say that you have to eat chocolate to enjoy food, but to say that we don't like energy dense food. We like foods that are easy to digest. And by the way, you can also correlate texture with a higher digestibility. So usually crispy foods are dehydrated, meaning they have less water. When they have less water, they have more nutrients for 100 grams of the product. And not only it is more energy dense, it is even easier to digest, okay? When something is crispy, it means it's kind of broken down already. It's way quicker to digest. So imagine there are two tables, one with 200 grams of beetroot and one with the same 200 grams of beetroot, but refined. They are sugar here. Which one would you pick? The 200 fucking grams of beetroot or the 10 grams of sugar? Same calories, easier to digest. Do you notice a pattern? And this, my friend, is the reason you are addicted to junk food. You are addicted to easily digestible food. Because here is what happens to the body. The body gets the food, easily digestible food, and he goes, whoa, fuck, I didn't even have to spend energy to digest this. Okay, the thermic effect. I want more of this, because this way I get really fat and I can withstand the famine. But the famine never comes. So we are left with a skinny fat body, hooked on junk food, and this is all due to the ability of junk food companies to exploit our senses. So the takeaway here is that to increase the digestibility of a given food, you can do two things. The first one, which is a bit of the easier one, is to include refined grains to your food, meaning bread, pasta, rice, something that has a high glycemic index. Even bread stuff. The reason you like bread stuff is because it has a easy to digest exterior. I remember my mother told me that when she was in university, the only way she would eat meat, okay, is with this recipe that her friend taught her, and that recipe basically required you to sprinkle some flour over the meat, okay, and then cook that. You are basically adding more digestibility to the piece of meat. Not only that, you are also stimulating the Maillard reaction, the reaction between sugars and proteins. So if you have sugars, okay, glucose, which is the flour, it's a different thing from sugar, but it has the same glucose, and protein, the meat. She was basically forcing the Maillard reaction to happen, so even more umami and even more digestibility. The second way to increase digestibility is by cooking. By cooking, you pre-digest, you break down fibers, you break down proteins, fats, starches, therefore you facilitate the nutrient absorption, and that's the goal. You're basically doing the enzymes in your body's job outside, because instead of your enzymes breaking down the starches, okay, you're breaking them outside. So we have come to the end of this physical domain. Mental domain. I said mental could also be called psychological domain. So basically here is where flavors and other stuff comes into play. The first domain was all about the things we are like kind of hardwired to like. This is more of the soft wiring. In this realm you start to get a little bit more subjective. Sometimes the mental domain can override the physical one, but it is quite uncommon. So we will quickly go over two broad aspects of the mental domain, and then we will go over the deep psychological stuff. The key concept here is that if you can manipulate dopamine, you can manipulate people, especially people's actions. So the first is appearance. Proof of junk food exploitation. Think back at how many times you were at the supermarket and you saw the most out-of-pocket examples of how like that specific product could be used in a super fancy salad, and they put those super contrasting colors to make it more appealing, just go to the supermarket. I think I also added some footage of my own supermarket. When something is well presented, it is kind of just more appetizing. I don't know the science, it just works. Who knows, maybe that's because like it feels clean, or like someone like took the time to make it, so we feel important. I don't fucking know. So if you want an extra hint on appearance, a very specific one, try to have at least 3 contrasting colors, purely for appearance. A very common example could be yellow, green and red. Make your own palette. I'm only now starting to implement this actually. For example, in my POV of the onion salmon, like I made a salmon, I think it's called exotic salmon POV, and I basically had these leeks, which are green, okay? Then I had salmon that when cooked is like grey, so I wanted to add a little bit more color, okay? So I basically took some oranges, and I was not yet satisfied because I had green, orange, I wanted something else, so I looked around for like kind of contrasting colors, and I came across an onion. So I took that onion and purely for appearance, okay, actually it turned out to be good, but purely for appearance I just chopped the onion and added it on the side. So I did it for the mental side, but it was actually quite good because, you know, it added acidity. So the takeaways here is try to make your food look good and try to have at least 3 contrasting colors. I gotta be honest here because this is something I never used to do. If I wasn't you, I will just focus on the physical domain, and when you can't make that any better, you can focus on this if you want. But if you just want to cook something with like no stress and you want it to taste good, then this is not something you really need. But if you have time, go ahead. The second broad aspect is temperature. This is a quick one. We like warm food because they release more like molecules in the air, and so like when we taste it, we get more molecules in our nose, and you know there is a lot of flavor stuff going on there, so I guess that's the reason. And why do we like cold desserts? I have no fucking idea. So now there is the deep psychological stuff, and I will need to introduce the concept of food ID. So basically, let's say that your brain keeps track of every food or flavor you've tasted and makes a custom food profile, like a food identification. And you know, it assigns it various traits based on the experience you had. And this will kind of determine whether you like it or not. Now, I'll tell you what parameters your brain uses to make this ID. And by the way, this is mostly subconscious. There is a conscious part we will take advantage of, but mostly subconscious. So the first criteria is taste to digestibility relation. So this basically means that if you associate a compound with something that spikes your blood glucose, you will like that compound. In simple terms, and you can absolutely exploit this, if you always eat cinnamon with something that spikes your blood glucose, think of cinnamon rolls, apple pie, cinnamon toast, you will like cinnamon. Like your brain really keeps track of this metric, the blood glucose spike, and when you associate that spike with a flavor, that flavor is going to be liked. Proof of junk food exploitation. Why do you think that McDonald's fries and Pringles make sense? Why do you like them so much? So what is going on is basically they are made so easy to digest and not sweet. They make it so undetectable that when you eat them, you don't feel like you're eating something sweet, okay? But your body is treating it like it. So you basically instantly digest it. And remember, like, digestibility is a huge component of pleasure. So now you have this digestibility, high digestibility, linked with a Pringle taste. Now, my friend, next time you smell a Pringle, your brain will go like, oh fuck, that is the flavor I used to have a fucking super high GI with. So this is how most processed foods keep you addicted to that specific product. So I said blood glucose, but if you are on keto, it's actually ketones. So the real denominator here is whatever activates your brain metabolism. So if you don't rely on glucose, but ketones is the same thing. This taste digestibility relation may also be the reason you care about texture. You see, texture plays a huge role in digestibility. Usually crispy food, okay, are dehydrated. Therefore, okay, as we said before, more nutrient dense and easier to digest. Brittle things are broken down easily by us. So you basically condition your brain to think that crispy food is energy dense and easy to digest, even though it is just a structural component and not even a taste. In essence, okay, it's not that you like the texture contrast or some shit, you like the crispy part because it is energy dense and easy to digest. Imagine like your mom made a roast chicken or something. What's the best part? The wing, the crispy exterior, okay? Like when my mom gets a roast chicken, she always asks me, oh, can I take the chicken, because she loves the crispy part. But it's not that she likes the crispy part, okay? Yes, I mean, she likes the crispy part, but not because it is crispy and, you know, it has a good texture. No, because it is energy dense and easy to digest. Don't get me wrong, like you can prefer some texture over the other, but in most cases it is just like a mental thing, like linked to past experiences. So the second criteria is quite similar. It is the taste experience relation. So basically here, instead of relating the taste to the digestibility, we relate the taste to our experience. I'll give you an example. So I don't know if you have ever tasted coriander, okay? I basically was cooking a chicken curry, okay? I love that dish. And the original recipe was require me to use coriander. I never used it, to be honest, but the 10th time I was like, okay, fuck it, let's use it. Let's do the original one. So I go and take the coriander. I smell the coriander like any fucking herb, you know, before using it, you cannot smell it. And bro, it was, I think it, fuck, do you know the bed bugs? Okay, have you ever smelled a bed bug? When you kill them, they emit that very strong, annoying smell. Bro, that was it. Like 100% accurate. I was like, fuck, a bed bug must have like entered this box and died. I was like, fuck, okay, let's try to search it. I was like disassembling all the box and I was not finding any bug. I actually came to the realization that coriander tasted like bed bugs. Now, what do you think I did? Do you think I put it in my favorite meal? Fuck no, I kept that and basically used that with my friend, like, oh, taste this herb, and they had the same reaction of me, because obviously we know that the smell of a bedbug. So when we smell a bedbug flavored herb, obviously we will not like it. You see, I had an experience, which is the bedbug smell, and I had a compound that was resembling it, so I was like, no, fuck, I don't like this. It is bedbugs. This is also about familiarity. You maybe have some cozy, traditional meal that maybe your mom made, okay, and now every time you eat it, it remembers you of the times, and you know, kind of nostalgic and, you know, cozy, maybe even Christmas, even cinnamon. Like, you always eat cinnamon during Christmas, okay? So every time you taste cinnamon, it kind of reminds you of that. You have an experience about this compound, and every time you eat it, you relate the taste to that experience. So now, for example, on the cinnamon identification, we have a good taste digestibility relation and also a good taste experience relation. So how do you leverage on this factor? The answer is spices. Where are you from, okay? Do you have a traditional spice blend? Or not really like where are you from, it's more specific to your environment, like how did you grow up? Did you grow up with a specific spice? Well, if you grew up with a specific spice, you can take that and use it more often. So the third criteria is the vision beliefs. So if you know a food is healthy and you desire to be healthy, when you eat that food, you know it is going to be good for you, okay? And you will get a dopamine increase, because you knew that you did something good for you, and that dopamine spike will condition you to like that, even though you didn't like it to begin with. And this is very strong. Like, for example, my mother, I'm experimenting with fermentation, okay? And my mother told me like, oh, Fede, you did like 3 fucking jars, like, are you going to like them? Because her point was, if you make 3 jars and like you're making a lot, what if you don't like them? And I was like, I mean, why would I not? They're so good for me. Even though they have a strange taste, like I'm not used to it, I think I will still like them. So also junk food here takes advantage of this. Proof of junk food exploitation. Low fat, green vegetable boxes with flowers and nature, and Italian origin. Look, it's fucking crazy. Like in Germany they have this thing. Probiotics, 3,000 million probiotics, gluten-free, source of vitamin, okay? Bro, look at this shit. So you cannot read this, but here it says copper source. Like, this is a source of copper. What the fuck? So I've mentioned these things and you think you're not influenced by this, okay? Because you stopped long ago to believe the low-fat myth. Maybe you also know what the vitamins are, so you don't need someone else to tell you. But let me call you out for a moment. So, grass-fed, X amount of proteins, you know, on a protein bar, okay, for all my gym bros out there. And this is how they make you crave more for that product. You look at it, you have a dopamine spike, and that dopamine spike is kind of conditioning you to get it. And look, this can be amazing. For example, I have a grass-fed milk. I like it more. I don't know why. It feels better. Maybe it is actually like a real thing and not just a mental thing, but again, it may be like 50% mental and 50% real, but still, it tastes better. Remember to be careful about when you read something positive, like, oh, grass-fed, because they maybe are adding something. Maybe they're like putting that to hook you up, but in reality, like, they have some weird fucking strange ingredient. This like always happens. Like my father went to this like natural grocery store, okay, and he bought like a random breakfast junk food basically, because he read, oh yes, honey and fair trade agriculture and save the bees or some shit, okay. Maybe like they read honey instead of sugar and they go like, oh, it's better, it's way better. And meanwhile, like, that honey is made by fructose corn syrup. This is the same thing they do with low fat. They tell you low fat and then they raise the sugar. They tell you grass fed and then they put some weird preservative in there, okay? So once again, you look at it, you're confronted with your brain info, okay, your knowledge, and you say, I want to be healthy, that is healthy for me. And when you eat it, you get a dopamine spike because you know you did something good for you, so you are happy. Yes, I did something healthy, dopamine spike. That dopamine spike over time will condition you to like, to crave, to seek for that food. You've surely seen some, some clip of a vegan trying out what he thinks is vegan meat, but it's actually real meat.
Bro, I can't eat burgers, bro. You know I'm vegan.
No. It's vegan.
This is the best burger I've ever fucking had. Like deadass, you would never think that it's fake meat.
No, dude, it's real meat. It's just vegan.
How is it real meat if it's vegan?
Like the meat is vegan. That's real meat, dude. It's vegan meat.
What do you think vegan means?
Like the cows be eating the grass and shit, right?
No, that's grass fed, you idiot.
Who fucking knew? That's what vegan means?
So basically yesterday I cooked a strawberry bell pepper salad, like never seen before. It's a new, completely improvised thing, what I like to do in my POV videos. And my mom came back and asked me, oh Fede, what did you eat? And I said to her, I ate this like strawberry bell pepper. Now, what she did was basically confront that information. So like, strawberry, oh I like strawberry, yeah. And obviously all subconsciously. Also bell pepper, oh I like bell pepper, raw bell pepper, very crispy and crunchy. I also mentioned yogurt because I mix everything with yogurt. And she was like, oh interesting, because she checked basically the ID of these foods and was like, oh fuck, that must have been good. That is also good for me because yogurt has probiotics and strawberries, fruit, and bell peppers, vegetable, good. Therefore I will like that. That is what she subconsciously thought, and that's why she was kind of hyped about it. Oh yes, I'm curious to see what that tasted like. The other criteria is the vision-taste relation. This is basically all about what you expect. Look at something and you expect a taste. When that taste is not respected, the food ID will take a hit, meaning that the food profile will be lower. A very common example for me is the pizza, okay? If I grab a pizza and bite it, and I feel this like sweet pineapple taste, I will go like, what the fuck is this? By the way, are you noticing the voice pitch change? I'm recording this like throughout 3 different days, so it's like the morning and I have like a deeper voice. This is quite useful to know, to detect something rotten, okay? Basically, if you always eat something and it has a taste, you kind of expect a taste. If that doesn't live up to the expectations, you will kind of go, there is something off, I don't think this is good anymore. Quite useful, but not in most cases. This is a bit of a limiting thing. I will try to detach from this thing. And luckily this is one of the easiest one to, get yourself distant from, because this is not very hardwired. You can change that. So let's do a quick recap. Let's take a quick look at how the food ID is composed. So the first thing we have is taste, digestibility. Okay, so if you eat a compound and that results in a higher digestibility, that's a good thing for your food ID. Then we have the taste experience, meaning if you have a positive experience, also a positive thing for the food ID, while if you have a bad experience, it is probably going to be worse. Then we have the vision beliefs, okay? Also in this case, if you see something that you think is healthy for you, then the food ID will benefit. And then the last one is the vision taste, so basically the expectation of what a food tastes like. These are broadly the 4 criteria that make up the food ID. When you start cooking by yourself and you start to break the rules a little bit, you're not following the recipes and shit, your vision taste relation may be the one that is a little bit more in danger, because you're cooking something that you've never seen, so you're kind of confused. You don't know how it tastes, and you don't know what to expect. Okay, so you're a bit more on the defensive side. If you're able to overcome this and you realize that you're just cooking safe ingredients, and you tell yourself that no matter what, it's gonna be fine, then you can maybe change the vision-taste relation. Not to say that the other criteria are impossible to change. To my opinion, like the taste experience relation is the hardest. Like it's kind of hard to reverse a bad experience. Like maybe you ate some seafood and there was a shell, okay, you bite in it and kind of disgusts you. It will be harder for you to like seafood again. This always fucking happens to me. I always get some shell or some sand when I eat seafood, and I kind of have this trauma when I eat some pasta with seafood shit. I kind of chew very slowly and I expect something bad, so it's kind of a pain in the ass, but yeah. So with this knowledge, I think it's time for you to exploit junk food and not being exploited by it. If you want me to help you get off junk food, you know, to achieve your fitness goals or anything, I'm fucking down for it. I love this shit. I have a paid coaching program. You can book a free call with me to see, you know, to ask me some question about it and to see if we are a good fit for each other. And that's the link in the description. Okay, cool. So if you have an ID, you're good to go. But what if you don't have an ID? What if the compound you're about to taste was like never seen before? You never tasted that. So if the food has no ID yet, your brain will basically go through this process that we explain now to determine if you basically like that or you don't. And you know, we are kind of made for this, to understand if you like something or not. It was actually a very important skill. Maybe in like caveman days, you were hungry and you didn't know if what you were about to eat was good or not. So we have to quickly understand if that food was safe for us. So the first thing it does is it checks for similar properties, and properties meaning the 5 taste receptors, because most likely if it is like kind of sweet, you will kind of immediately like it, while if it is more on a bland side, you will start to compare that flavor, okay, not that the air molecules got into your nose, you kind of compare the flavor to your other food archive, okay. Is this similar to something I've already eaten? Well, fuck, this is not similar to anything I've ate. What do I do now? Third thing, if nothing has worked yet, you basically check for health benefits. Is that good? But what does this mean? Because like obviously the cavemen didn't have like Google and oh, is this berry, fucking Google Lens, and no, they didn't have that. So it is simply asking around. If you think about it, like if you're alone, like actually alone, there is no one near you, and you taste something strange, you will be more likely to try it out, because like there is no one that can give you a kind of a feedback, okay? You won't risk it. While if you have someone like next to you that can explain to you what that is, like is that actually safe? So I want to give you an example. The other day I was in a restaurant with my parents, and you know, at the end of the lunch, I didn't order any dessert, and maybe like the manager noticed, so he basically brought us a free yogurt with this kind of weird little like red spheres. I didn't know what they were, so I was like, oh, interesting, they must be like tart cherry, I guess. When I tasted it, it was so strange. I expected something like a sweet cherry taste. It was not like that. It was basically a cherry like stored in alcohol, I think. So kind of a new taste. It was a little bit frizzy, a little bit carbonated, okay? So first thing, it didn't taste sweet, it didn't taste acidic. It was strange, okay? I never tasted anything like this. Does it have any similar flavor? I was like, oh fuck, it tastes like alcohol. I don't really like this. But then like I asked my parents, like, what is this? What is that? Can you taste it? So I asked them around, and they told me, oh yes, this is like a cherry stored in brandy. Fuck it. And they, you know, I kind of got reassured and was like, okay, interesting. And from like literally hate, like I didn't like that. I was like, what the fuck is this? I even offered one to my dad. Slowly I started to like actually realize it was not bad for me. So I kept eating and I actually liked them at the end. I regretted giving it to my dad because I actually wanted that now, and I finished everything. So we finally came to the end, and I'll give you the formula now. So this is a formula. If you don't have to autistically use this every time. To be honest, to make something taste good, I just focus on the physical domain. But you know, if you want to rationalize this, I guess I can give you the formula. So it is basically number of pillars plus appearance plus temperature times ID score. And the ID score, okay, simply is the value of the ID. So let's say you don't like a food because you have bad experiences, you know, it has a bad profile. Then the number will be closer to 0. If the profile is kind of, you know, neutral, not really good, not really bad, it will be closer to 1. While if the food has a great ID, it has a good food profile, this value will be 2. And this basically explains how you can override the physical domain with the mental domain. Like you can have the best recipe in the world, but if you multiply it by 0, by putting for example cilantro, I will not like it. If you have this mindset, you will have an advantage over the people who don't have this mindset. They go by flavors and precise recipes without never understanding them. That works too, but you know, it's way more stressful, and they also are going to miss out on potential health benefits, on more satisfaction because you know the pillars, and also a lot of time, okay? When you don't follow a recipe and you know what you are doing, you save so much time. And that's kind of it. So if you have any other question about this, like something doesn't make sense for you and you see some discrepancy, just feel free to ask me anything.